Can film carry philosophical content? Over the years, the question on whether this is possible has been debated, with the likes of Leitch and Karofsky arguing that it can, while others such as Wartenberg have been on the fence, unsure if it can, or rather if it should. I'll be exploring arguments raised on both sides and use Matrix as an example. I decided I should ask people about it to see what they took out of the film. Almost everyone said that The Matrix was one of their favorite films of all time and that it got them to question their reality to explore more themes that the film covered. It got me thinking, how and why did this film affect so many people in that way, and more importantly, does this prove that film can actually carry philosophical content?
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Leitch and Karofsky believed that philosophy can be carried through film and allow it to be more accessible to the public, introducing them to new concepts that they haven't heard before. In fact, they even used The Matrix and Inception as examples to illustrate their point, focusing on skepticism. How do we know what is real? How can I be sure what I'm seeing is real and not a figment of my imagination? Does the spoon even exist? The Matrix forces the viewer to think about these things and to recall memories of when they weren't sure if they were dreaming or not. This is perfectly illustrated in the famous scene in which a young child explains to Neo how to bend objects in the Matrix.
Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
Using a spoon to explain what the Matrix is, and more importantly, introducing the idea of skepticism to the viewer in a visually interesting way, allows the viewer to believe that this could be a possibility. After all, we tend to trust what we can see. Leitch and Karofsky have said that these films do a good job of highlighting the starting point of concepts that have been around for decades. They do not argue that they are necessarily perfect for illustrating all of it, as that would be impossible, but rather that they give a good introduction for those who wouldn't have been interested otherwise. It allows philosophy to be accessible by everyone. To quote them, "What both of these movies do so well is to highlight the starting point of skepticism. Both movies make it clear that when we perceive, we are not immediately aware of external objects. Our perceptions exist only in our minds, they are not themselves external objects." Will Ehrman backs this up and says that not everyone goes to university or would even study philosophy. So, to quote him, "While Philosophy 101 is an ideal setting in which to study closely and discuss passionately the life of Socrates, there's no need to wait for an opportunity that may never come."
This is a sparring program, similar to the programmed reality of The Matrix.
It has the same basic rules like gravity. What you must learn is that these rules are no different than the rules of a computer system. Some of them can be bent, others can be broken. Understand? Then hit me, if you can.
Wartenberg, on the other hand, argues that The Matrix is a reactionary philosophic film in the sense that it can't be fully philosophical but contains some aspects of philosophy within the plot. He continues this argument saying that films such as The Matrix will include some ideologies like skepticism but then resort to a science fiction action film for the rest of the plot. For example, in the scene that we've just seen, we can see how the rest of the plot leaves the philosophical side of it and becomes more of a popcorn film filmed with interesting action scenes, which although include some of the skepticism, still resort to the classic cookie cutter action film. He argues that no film can be fully philosophical or create new ideas, but rather recreate already written philosophies and transform them into film. To quote him, "The Matrix is a reactionary philosophic film insofar as it implants in our minds with renewed rigor the haunting spectre of complete deception. But having a reactionary agenda does not disqualify our work from accounting as philosophy." He concludes his argument stating that film is a philosophic medium, but one whose contribution to philosophy need to be carefully articulated. I, on the other hand, don't necessarily agree with it, as I believe that we have always used art or literature in some way or metaphors to describe what we are trying to explain, and I think that film can introduce new philosophic ideas, for example, The Examined Life, which goes into different philosophies but do it in a unique way that actually offers its own philosophy in doing so. In conclusion, the debate on whether the film can carry philosophic content will continue in the future, with philosophers taking either Leitch or Karofsky's view or Wartenberg's. The Matrix has inspired more filmmakers to include more philosophical aspects into their films, such as Inception and Bandersnatch. This means that there will be more films that can be dissected and checked to see if they can really hold philosophical content and do it justice.